I was worried about.
Well, you're going to face your fears now. Welcome to college composition. So what we're going to do is not go over the syllabus now, okay? You'll get a copy of the syllabus and you'll go over it over the weekend. We're going to start reading and writing, okay? Reading and writing. So you'll so take out a pen, which you've done already, right, and paper. You're not going to turn this in, okay? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to display a text on the screen, okay? And you're going to read it to yourself. And you're going to jot down questions, answers, thoughts, observations about what you read, okay? Entirely subjective. I'm not going to collect it, just like taking notes on stuff, okay? And I'm going to give you 4 minutes to read the text and take notes. Then we're going to have a discussion, and you'll also be encouraged to take notes on the discussion, not word for word, okay? And the things you'll want to include in your notes are going to be questions I ask, questions you and your classmates ask, answers you and your classmates give, answers I give, observations and thoughts you have, okay? And you'll use the notes for an assignment over the weekend, because the next time we have this class is a week from yesterday, right? So we have a full week, because we have this on, because we don't have class on Monday, right? Right? I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, good, yeah. Okay, and remember not to be obsessive with your note taking. And oh, for this class also, I'll post the PowerPoint on Google Classroom. Okay, so the notes are for your own sake. Okay, any questions before I show you the text? Timer? It will be. It will be.
Everyone's like getting all like.
All right, so this is part of the essay, part of the process. Okay, ready, set, and keep your thoughts to yourself. Okay, we'll discuss after. Go. Okay, so I don't want you to read your notes to me, but what were your first impressions upon seeing the text?
That's not a text.
Ooh, or maybe you're gonna have to redefine what your definition of text is. Oh, okay, we'll talk about that later. What else? Abstract, interesting. Okay, let me ask some specific questions here. Okay, what would you say the genre of this text is? What kind of text? Fiction?
Non-fiction.
Non-fiction?
Yeah.
What about specific?
Kind of like I don't know how to start like a meme, like a picture displaying an idea.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Yes, it's an ad. It is an ad. Okay, yes, it is an ad. What is it an ad for? Legos. Okay, good. Okay. Now, how did you know it was an ad?
I don't know, I just got the ad because it's showing like the airplane under it, like look what you could create.
Oh, okay, good, right.
Kind
And
of
so,
like a book also.
so you notice how Elisheva immediately got a message from it, and you also said it looks like a book, right? Where do you think this ad might have appeared? In a magazine, right? Okay, right? Because when you said a book, because you see the two sides, right? But we know that typically ads like this don't appear in books; they appear in magazines. And you would say magazine as opposed to newspaper because it's in color, right? So you're picturing here two pages here, right? You're reading through your magazine and you see this full double page ad here. Okay, so how did you know, by the way, that the subject was Legos? Number one is it says Lego, and number two, you've seen Legos before. How many of you are familiar with Legos before today? Okay, right. That shows how popular the brand is, right? So what do you think led to the creation of this ad? Like the person who produced it, or we're going to call it an author because it was probably a team, but the author or artist who produced it, what prompted them to make it, do you think?
Obviously they wanted to promote it.
Okay, so obviously the immediate cause is they want to promote this. And why do they want to promote it? Because they want to make money by selling Legos, right? So the thing that prompted this was the need to make money in order to sell Legos, right? And how did you know that?
Because we know that Lego companies sell them.
Yeah, we know the Lego company is not giving out free Legos, right? We know that they want to sell it, right? So so is that the only purpose, though? Is the only purpose to sell Legos?
Of this specific ad?
Of this specific ad?
No.
What would the other purpose be?
To show like how Lego can be used for so many different things.
Okay, the other is to teach about Legos, right? In other words, I guess the way I was going to ask the question is, let's say this ad did not result in a sale to you. Does that mean that the ad failed? No, right? Because it's still conveying to you what Legos are. What else might be another purpose of this ad other than selling and informing?
Well, just to give insight onto like children's imaginations and how like their nature.
Okay, good. So this is also revealing certain premises and ideas about children's imaginations or the way that they play. But from the standpoint of the company, what else might the company be accomplishing, even if they fail to sell a Lego based on this?
It's in your mind.
It's in your mind, right? Anyone know the marketing term that we call that? Yeah, say it again.
Brainwash.
Oh no, I thought you said brand recognition.
Wait, what? Brand
Right, right. So what's the idea of brand recognition?
So that everyone knows that your company exists.
Exactly. You want your people to know your company exists, even if they're not immediately buying your products, right? And the fact that all of you knew what Legos are before this shows that they're pretty good at brand recognition. Okay, right? Who do you think the audience is of this ad? Parents and children. Good. So two audiences, right? Now, what makes you think it's parents and children? Yeah, you just speak. You don't have to raise your hand.
Parents are gonna look through it to see what's about it, or they're gonna have to look at it after their kids are like, I want this.
Okay, right. So parents are going to be the ones who actually buy the toy, right? And why is it aimed at kids?
Child encourages.
The child might be the one to initiate the purchasing request, right? Okay, to buy this. Would you say that there is a primary audience? Probably parents, right? Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
I think because kids already see Legos like that, it's just kind of showing parents how kids see Legos.
Okay. Oh, that's really good also, right? Is that kids are already familiar with Legos from a different context. And also, based on where we said that this likely appeared, why do you think parents are the primary audience?
They're reading
Because they're reading magazines. Kids are mostly not reading magazines, even though some of them flip through it, but it's not going to be aimed directly at them. And as we mentioned, parents have the purchasing power, okay? Also, what do you think in terms of the comprehensibility of the ad, like how easy it is to understand? Why would that also indicate that it's for parents instead of kids?
They don't make it look fun for kids.
Right, it doesn't,
adults.
exactly, right? This is not a fun looking toy. The message, which you said before, is much more serious and thoughtful, and that's kind of aimed at adults. Also, I mean, if you were like a 5-year-old kid, what do you think you would see when you might be confused, right? But at the same time, you also will be articulate what a 5-year-old might say in their head when they see this.
I want that. Please.
No, it looks boring.
Right, okay, maybe boring, but we said that most 5-year-olds have been exposed to Legos before, right? So probably they'll see it and they'll be like, ooh, Lego, and then turn the page, right? They're not gonna think into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when do you think this ad was published, if you had to guess?
When it first became a thing.
When Lego first became a thing. Okay, that's one guess. Anyone else?
Like during a war or something.
Oh, what makes you think that?
The ships and planes.
Ships and planes. Okay, very interesting, right? Let's keep that in mind. Anyone else have a guess based on style?
Doesn't seem like the style from nowadays. It's like nowadays there's either more going on or it's simple in a different way.
Okay, interesting. So it happens to be, I'll tell you the actual answer. This was created in 2016. Okay, so this is a modern style. I don't know much about marketing or art design, but anyone know what the name for this kind of style is?
Spotlight maybe?
That definitely be a technique to be used. What do you call it when you have very few elements in something? Minimalism, right? So this is a very minimalist style, which is much more common in modern times than it was back then. So what does so how do you think, given the fact that this was made in 2016, how do you think the timing of the creation of the ad influenced the design? In other words, compare this to if they made a similar ad in the 50s or the 70s.
Oh.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, they were definitely a thing back then, but I mean, planes and ships are very much on people's minds.
Okay, that might be true.
All the time. Maybe
That's definitely true.
People are thinking they're more science, we're gonna advance, and this looks
Okay, that could be as well. Think though in terms of the minimalism itself. What makes this appropriate for an audience of 2016? As opposed to, let's say, for example, in fact, you want me to show you here. This is going to be a sneak peek here. Let me show you. Here's an ad from the 70s. Do you see the difference? Yeah. Okay. Right. There you go. Right. In other words, who would sit there and read an ad like this nowadays, right? So there's an advantage in the fact that our ad here is simple and wordless, right? Now, is that exclusively an advantage? It's advantageous for attention span, but what are some of the risks that you're running by making an ad like this without words?
the right idea.
Yeah, people might not get the right idea out of it.
Yeah, I did not think at all that anything.
Okay, right. So it might be boring, but at the same time, that's the strength of minimalism or the spotlighting, which is draws your mind to it right away. So it does catch your attention. Okay. What do you think the ad company assumes about what their audience knows walking into this ad? In other words, the person making this ad, what are they going to assume that the people who see this already know?
Where to buy it and how to access it, because they're not telling you.
Okay, good, right. So they're going to assume certain things that the person who wants to buy the product will somehow know where to get it. There's no phone number, there's no address here, there's no website. What else?
That they go on. Yeah, that they go on.
Yes, they're assuming a basic familiarity with how Legos work, right? Is, for example, if you show this to someone like who's never been in the Western world before and has never seen Lego, they might think that each one of these is, that this is one piece. You guys know it's two pieces and you put them together. Okay, good. What else do you think they're assuming about their audience? Sorry, assuming that their audience is assuming?
So they can comprehend.
Right, that they can comprehend the idea, which we'll talk about what the idea is in a second. Okay, I think it's safe to say that the company is assuming that the parents who are seeing this ad are familiar with Lego and probably familiar from what?
Their childhood.
Their childhood, right? So what mood do you think they're trying to evoke? Nostalgia. Yeah, okay, nostalgia, right? All right, speaking of nostalgia, what other feelings do you think this ad is designed to evoke, either in the kids who see this or in the parents who see this?
Creativity.
Creativity, right? This feeling that I want to make stuff. What else? So if it's nostalgia, what other feeling? Nostalgia is more like a, it is a particular feeling, but it's also a bridge to other feelings. What feelings, I mean, how many of you played with Legos when you were a kid in some way? Yeah, right? So what feelings do you, what feelings do you associate with Legos?
Innocent.
Fun.
Innocence, that's good, right? When you're a little kid, fun, what else? We said creativity already. So all of these emotions are going to be evoked by this ad in the parents. And what do you think that's going to do in terms of the purpose of the ad? Like why is evoking those emotions good or effective? So attach the toy to those emotions and therefore
Buy it.
we'll be more inclined to buy it, because what's going to be the thought that's going to go through the parent's head who has all these emotions?
My kids are gonna feel like.
I want to pass this on to my kids, right? Is my kids are going to have the same feelings that I had when I had Legos. Okay, good. All right, now let's talk about the content of the ad. So Elisha mentioned that there's an idea, and some of you have commented. What do you think the central idea of this ad is that it's trying to convey?
The simplest thing could like be anything here if you just like use a little creativity.
Okay, good. Is that creativity can make something that simple be something that complex or large, like an airplane or a ship, right? What will be another message? Imagination, right? Imagination can do what? Or what about imagination? I shouldn't say you have like that. Yes, imagination opens possibilities beyond what the particular elements are. What message do you think this subtly is conveying to parents about the types of toys that they should be buying for their kids?
Simple things, old things.
Okay, it could be the simple, like the type of parent who is like, I don't want my kid on an iPad all day. You know, I want to give them like, the good old-fashioned kind of toys. But what else might it be conveying to parents? Or what types of, what types of thoughts of toy purchasing is it going to put in parents' minds? A toy that makes them think, exactly, right? Is that my kid can unleash their creative potential. My kid can exercise their imagination. My kid can like do stuff with this on their own. It has tremendous replay value, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the style here. What decisions do you see were made about the arrangement? We talked about this a little, the spotlighting, right? But the arrangement of the elements of the ad. Like what insight, what reasons can you see for that, for arranging it this way?
The shadows, you mean?
Everything.
As a plane will reflect onto the. So the Legos are like darker and more bright than the shadows.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Oh, so okay, you're saying more bright than the shadows. Actually, let's talk about basic thing first. Let's talk about color. Okay.
America.
So number one, this is America. So if I asked you, right now, we know that not all of the America's not the only flag with these three colors, right? But it's highly likely that this is being printed in an American magazine, right? So this evokes America. What else is good about the colors here? That's true. They are, two of them are Lego colors, right?
They also
Yeah.
shine on the paper.
Yeah, like red and white.
Okay,
is
good.
very
Contrast it.
cool.
It makes it pop, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, the actual Legos are, you're right, are Lego colors, and the blue's just a background. Yeah.
According to color theory, there's like things about like psychology behind seeing certain colors. If you see red, you're like more inclined to like want.
Okay, that's good. Also, and I don't know enough about that to speak intelligently about it. In terms of the actual plane and boat, what makes sense about the about color? Yeah.
It's right, like it kind of like it pops out, but also like I mean I feel like someone kind of said this, but you can, it's like when you see the two colors there, your eyes kind of go down to the bottom to the logo. So
Yeah.
You see,
Oh, that's also true, right? So having it the same colors as the logo associates this with that. Why does it make sense to have blue though in the background for each of these things? Sky and water. Okay, right. So it subtly adds to the theme that's being evoked here, and it makes you have to use your imagination just in order to interpret the ad on a subtle level, right? Why do you think the objects are the size that they are? Oh, it could be the size of legs. I actually don't know how big this appears. It's a little bit bigger.
Page, so have like the minimalist look.
You think that they're small. I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say that making the Legos being big on the page. Remember, if this is in a magazine,
Right. It's bigger than the other.
exactly, right? So you don't want to make the details too small. You want to prominently feature this, kind of like cereal boxes are enlarged to show texture or whatever. Why do you think they decided to use a shadow to convey this idea?
I think shadow is like not actually, it's like a morphing of reality, but it's also like reality.
Okay, good. So shadow is a perfect thing that is coming from a reality, but is not the reality, right? And so when you're showing that this is casting a shadow that's different from the object, then it highlights that fact. Also, when you guys first saw this, when you very, very first saw it, which element did you notice first, the blocks or the shadow? The blocks, right? And then you see the shadow, and then what happens in your mind after that?
It's like, why is there a shadow that doesn't look?
Either you have the question of like, why is the shadow different? Or you have like an aha moment of, oh, I get it, right? So what do you think that does in terms of the effectiveness of the ad, of making you?
You feel good. You're like, oh, I figured it out.
Exactly, like, you got to hop, right, when you do this. And just by making you think about something, it involves you in the ad in a different way than you would than if it was spoon-fed to you, okay? I guess, we talked about this briefly before. What do you think the advantages of not having words in the ad? We mentioned a couple, but let's just review.
Whoa.
Number one is it's annoying to read, right?
So
Quick
it's like-
ad.
It's quick and it's simple, right? Now, why are those to our advantage? We mentioned attention span is one, but what are some other advantages based on what we've said so far about why? Parents are busy, right? But in terms of like the way this ad is designed to function,
All ages.
oh, number one, this allows it to appeal to all of the target audiences, right? Parents, children, grandparents, whatever. What about in terms of conveying the message? What did we just discover in terms of like the way that the author intended the message to be read? How is wordlessness advantageous for that purpose? Yeah, is you have to use your imagination and you have to think into it in order to decode the ad, right? Whereas if it were words, then you would lose that element. Okay. Did anyone else have any other questions or observations in their notes that we didn't touch upon? I mean, there's a lot to
I
do
started
with here.
picking favorites of like which.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, one more. Let's talk about the planes and boats for 1 second here. Why is that something, or either why are those things that were chosen, or what can you infer about the audience based on those things?
I think that like planes and boats specifically, like you assume them with like automobiles and like things that go fast, and like the emotion. You don't even only get the emotion of like the Lego. You get like the feeling of like being on a plane. Or,
Okay, good, true. But let's say why that instead of saying, let's say like you could picture a similar ad with trees or with animals. Or,
This is what little kids like.
okay, maybe this is what little kids are already building.
And it's more active
Right, so they're making something that moves. Is that what you were getting at before? Yeah.
They could play with it. It's not just.
So you're making your own toys. You're making things that you can play with, right? You're not just like depicting scenes or anything like that. If you had to guess, and this is total speculation on our part, assuming that this is in America, what I guess parts of America or what populations within America do you think planes and boats might appeal to more than others? Yeah. Okay. Right. So people who are like, what aspect of that?
People have kids, like factories, big cities.
Right.
Like,
Big cities,
wow.
production, commercial stuff. What?
But also at the same time, with small things, because there's a boat. I mean, I know the boat's like a high-end boat.
Yeah.
High adventure. It's like crossing that as a countryside, we have like a boat.
Okay, that's definitely true. Also, if you, I'm going to gender stereotype for 1 second here. Okay, if you had to guess whether this was aimed more at boys or girls, what would you say?
Boys.
Probably boys, right? Because traditionally, boys are more interested in like vehicle toys than girls, even though there are exceptions both ways, right? Okay, so congratulations, you've just completed your first rhetorical analysis, which is going to be the first unit in our class. Okay, so let's talk about rhetorical analysis here. All right, but first a note about note taking. This is true of all the classes, but especially here because we're covering a lot. Note taking, you're gonna have to make the decision of, is this gonna be useful for me to record here, or is it better if I listen? Remember, everything's gonna be posted on Google Classroom. If you are gonna take notes, the priority is things that appear in a shade of blue, which I call rhetorical terminology. And in fact, I'll suggest that you start a new piece of paper with the term rhetorical terminology and underline it. And that's where we're gonna have a bunch of definitions. Okay. Yeah, and well, in the syllabus, I'll show you where to put this in your binder. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Okay, I want to get right to the content now. Okay, do you know? Oh, sorry, and I'll post this on Google Classroom as I mentioned. Okay, do you know what rhetoric means?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes?
The way in which someone speaks.
Okay.
Or writes.
Okay, good. That's a good general definition. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of like how you persuade someone.
Bingo. Okay, so I'm gonna put four definitions up here. I like the middle two. So you could write whichever ones you feel helpful. So Aristotle's the one who came up with the term and the study, the faculty of observing in any given case the available means of persuasion. But the one I like is Jolliffe, who is one of my AP professors. The way people produce text to create and communicate meaning. That's closer to what Leah was saying. And then another one of my AP professors, Larry Scanlon, said it's the art of finding ways of persuading an audience, like Eliana said. I just call it the art of persuasion, if you want a quick definition. Okay. And like Leah said, also it could be verbally, or it could be in writing, it could be in images. It's the art of how to persuade someone. Okay, I'm gonna go on. Okay. What do you think rhetorical analysis means?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? You try to define it without using the word in the definition. What does it mean to analyze?
Decipher.
Can you be more specific? Because there's different ways to decipher. Anyone know what the strict definition of analysis is? And I'll give you a hint. It's the opposite of synthesis.
Breakdown.
It's a breakdown. Synthesis is putting together, analysis is breaking down. So the act of separating any text into its component parts in order to understand how the text forges meaning, achieves a purpose, or creates an effect. Which is, if you think about it, what we just did with the Lego ad. We broke it down into its parts and tried to understand how the different parts work together to achieve the purpose or the effect of selling Lego. Don't copy this down. I can give you a copy of this later on. Let me move the Zoom thingy. So we're going to learn a bunch of different techniques. I can't move the Zoom thing out of it. I'll put it over here for now. This is a diagram that I came up with, or I actually collaborated with, about how to analyze an ad. And you could see in the black, these are all of the, or not all of them, but these are the components that we talked about here, right? We talked about the audience, the purpose, the emotional compact, or the emotional component of the ad, the imagery, the color. Not all of these will appear in every ad, but this is just an example of what a rhetorical analysis would involve and how many parts there are. Okay. Exigent is a fancy word for the thing that prompted the ad to be created. Okay, which is not necessarily the same as the purpose. Okay, the central concept in this class is what we call the rhetorical triangle. Okay, and if you want to draw a triangle, then that would be appropriate. The rhetorical triangle is in the middle you have the text itself, And the text is a product of the interactions between this is a new term, rhetor, which is a term that we'll use to describe a speaker or writer. It's easier if you just use one term for it because you don't have to say speaker or writer every time. And the audience and the subject. And when you're writing something, then you're producing a text, you are taking into account who your audience is, what your subject or message is, and then who you are, and all factors from all these things are combining in order to produce the ad that's there, right? Like in this Lego ad we talked about, the person who designed this, or let's say Lego designed this, right? So Lego knows stuff about itself, but then it knows that it's aiming this at kids and at parents, and it knows what the subject is that it's trying to convey, and that the interaction between all those things produces the text. Okay, we'll delve into that a little bit more later on. Speaking of text, I said you notice that we use a different definition of text here, right? When you think of text, what do you think of? Words, right? So in this class and in rhetorical analysis, the definition of text is the blue part, but I'm going to read the whole thing. While this term generally means the written word, in the humanities, meaning like in English and in literature and the arts, it has come to mean any cultural product that can be read, meaning not just consumed and comprehended, but investigated. This includes fiction, nonfiction, poetry, political cartoons, fine art, photography, performances, fashion, cultural trends, and much more. So in this class, text will be lots of things, okay? Ads, that exit sign, okay? Movies, cartoons, slang, memes, these are all texts, okay?
If you're analyzing something, how can there be one right analysis?
Good question. Quick answer to the question is that there is always going to be, going back to the rhetorical triangle here, there's going to be what the rhetor intended to convey. That's going to be one thing, and that's what I would call the right interpretation. But also there's a subjective dimension that is going to be on the part of the audience, that they're going to bring their own meaning to the text. And when you read stuff, you create meaning or you contribute your own meaning to it. And then there's in the concepts themselves. So the meaning is going to come from everything, but I would say that the right interpretation is one that unpacks what the rhetor intended to convey. Okay, so for our homework for the weekend, there's going to be a writing assignment and 2 Google Form assignments. Okay, you don't need to write any of this down. This is going to all be on Google Classroom. Remember, this is a week's worth of homework because we're not meeting again yet, Eliana. Good point. I will try to add you. Remember to add you when I get home. Okay. So don't write this down. Just ask me if you have any questions. Okay. So this one's going to be due on Tuesday. We don't have this class again until Wednesday, but I need time to grade your, not to grade, to read and offer feedback on your papers. So it's going to be due one day early. It's going to be submitted in the form of email. And anything you submit in email in this class, I want you to paste it or type it into the body of the email. I don't want it as an attachment or as a shared doc, okay? And I don't care what font or size it is, okay? So just put it into the body of the email. The subject and title of the email will be Lego ad analysis. I'm gonna put 8 Lego ads on Google Classroom, okay? Which I'll show you after we go through the homework assignments here, okay? You're gonna analyze the ad that you were assigned the way that we analyzed today's ad, okay? And I'm gonna give you 2 options for what prompt to write about. Prompt 1 is answer the question, what makes this ad effective in achieving its purpose, which is kind of what we talked about today. Or if you want to compare the ad that you choose to the one we did today, then that's another option. Because sometimes it's easier if you're comparing the two, like the techniques that they use or how efficient or effective it was, and make an argument about which ad is more effective in achieving its purpose, okay? As you write, keep the rhetorical triangle in mind. Okay, think about how this ad emerged from the interactions, from choices made by the interactions between the rhetor, the audience, and the subject, and focus on choices. Why did the author do this? What were they trying to achieve? And for this one, there's going to be no minimum or maximum length. I just want to see what you write. Part of this assignment is also, I have not read your writing yet, so I just want to see where everyone's at. I know you're writing, this is going to be a new type of essay. So just, do your best, okay? I'm not gonna grade you based on how well you do. Don't worry about that. You're just gonna get full credit for submitting it. Okay, that's this assignment. Any questions about this? Yeah.
Be like essay format or just like a
whatever you want. Whatever you want. Write the way that you think. Write the way you think you're supposed to write, okay? I know that's part of the challenge. I want to see what you guys naturally do. Okay. Homework assignment 2 is due on Friday. Okay. Google Forms, pre-syllabus first impressions. Answer the 10 questions on the Google form before reading the syllabus. These will be questions about your thoughts going into the class, your thoughts about English, your thoughts about writing, thoughts about reading. And I stress, do this before you read the syllabus. Okay. Then due on Wednesday, which is the next time we have class, is a 4-question survey, much shorter. After you've read through the syllabus, it's questions about your reactions to that. Okay. And I will hand out the syllabus. Do not read it until you have done the first Google form
Do you
assignment.
have to respond to the syllabus of the class?
Using the Google form. Okay, meaning you're going to read it and then respond. The first one is due tomorrow. Yeah, the first survey is due tomorrow. Yeah, because I need to be thinking about it over the weekend. Okay, in the remaining time, we still have 10 minutes. I will show you the ads that you will be choosing from. Okay, and we'll just talk about each one a little bit here. Okay, so and I put them in chronological order. All right, you get to choose whichever one you want. Okay, I'm gonna read this because I don't know if you can see it here.
That's when my mom was born.
Oh, okay. Kids build Lego, Lego builds kids. And you got to read this in kind of old-fashioned language because, you know, the 2 ways your child can make his mark in life are with his mind and his hands. If he can develop his mind and his hands doing something he enjoys, all the better. That's what Lego is about. More than just a building toy, Lego makes anything your child's mind imagines, anything his hands build. So you might say, as he builds Lego, Lego builds him. Okay, now, yeah. Now, we noted before, what are some differences you see between this ad and the ad we analyzed?
The word.
Words, right? That's the biggest difference. Right, a lot of stuff, a lot busier, right?
The wording isn't my favorite.
Yeah, right.
I feel like ruined it.
Yeah.
Do you think that that was a bad decision, or do you think there was something necessitating them doing this?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we see
I like reading my
a difference in opinion. Why do you think it might be more necessary to have an ad with words in 1972 than one in?
Legos didn't exist, so kids didn't. Now.
Right, or at least this is a fun fact, by the way. I'll show you this. So you see here it says Lego by Samsonite. Okay. This is the only ad that says that. From then on, it's just Lego. So Legos did exist, but they were produced by a different company, and this might have been early on in trying to get people to buy Legos. So for the sake of explaining what Legos are, you're gonna need to like explain it in words. It wouldn't work if you just showed a picture. Okay. Maybe the parents didn't know either, right? Okay. Now check out in a very short amount of time later this ad. Okay. So I'll read this because you definitely probably have a hard time. Look what I built with Lego. And look at that look on her face. That's pride smiling. The feeling of accomplishment children get from building with Lego brand building sets is something no child should miss, and something no parent should miss sharing. Lego bricks and pieces are beautifully crafted. They snap together to build anything a child can imagine. Snap apart to start all over again. There are wheels to make things go, doors and shutters to open and close, Lego people to grin right back at your child. Lego is a toy that they never tire of, a toy that stimulates creativity and imagination for years. What more could you ask of a toy? Lego building sets. See Lego sets for all ages at your local store. Now, what's the first thing that catches your eye about the difference between this one and the last one?
That's what we got off that other ad without any.
Ah, good, right? So this is the fully explicit form of the version that we did. But what about the difference between this and this? Okay, that's also true, right? She is looking at you.
The quality of like the color and like the way that everything changed, like the Lego symbol.
Okay, that's also true. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. What I was going to say is this is clearly a girl, right? Is this a boy or a girl?
Oh, it looks like a
I think it's a boy
Oh.
because I feel like you're not going to dress, but you're not going to dress a girl in this in 1970, right? So I thought that maybe they're trying to. This is when they first started expanding this to appeal to girls also. All right, check out a much later one. Okay, and tell me if you get the shot.
The parents are like, oh my gosh, he has a phone, but then it's just
Ah, right. Now, here's the thing. When was this ad written?
2000.
2010, but what does the style look like?
Oh, like olden days.
Old. So what do you think the idea in this ad is?
That'll be like back then.
Yeah, say it again.
Oh.
He's building the future with Lego, right? This kid is, remember, in I don't know when this is supposed to be, like the 50s or 60s or whatever, mobile phones didn't exist, right? So this kid, and what do their facial expressions tell you?
Oh,
Yeah, so the mother's like, oh my, yeah, right? And what about the kid's facial expression?
So proud of them.
Excited.
Excited and happy, right? So what does this convey that the purpose of Lego is? For the kids to do what?
Create crazy things.
Which will? What
Like
kinds of
the
things?
happiness.
This is not airplanes and
Lead to
boats.
future inventions.
Lead to future inventions, right? Your kid's going to be the next inventor if you do this, right? Here's another one. Now, who recognizes this?
I do. It's Star
Yeah,
Wars.
it's Star Wars, right? Han Solo
Except I don't
and
know.
Chewie.
I don't either, but I know that.
Yeah, but what's going on here?
It's
telling you a bone.
story.
It's telling a story. Now, why is this your own story? Why is this not just Star Wars?
That's not really how it is in Star Wars.
It's not how it's in Star Wars. He doesn't treat Chewie as his dog that he
Yeah.
throws bones to play fetch, right? Now, so you notice this is a completely different angle than the other Lego ad. This is not emphasizing creativity in invention. This is emphasizing creativity in well, that was the other one also, right? Imagination. This is in storytelling, right? In fiction, in imaginative literature. Now, how many of you did not know who these characters were? Okay, good. Now, why might using Star Wars be a benefit or a detriment? Not all people watch Star Wars, so they might not get it.
Who could be really passionate.
The people who do will be very passionate, right? And it'll catch their eye even more. Okay.
Be passionate against it. Like that's not how Star Wars.
That could be exactly right. It's going to evoke strong feelings. Here's another one. Yeah. So what would you say the main idea of this one is?
The variety that you can find in all the.
Yes. Okay. The variety and all. Oh, that's you're right. That's number one. It shows the variety of the pieces. What is the setup remind you of here? A word search, right? So what does that have to do with Lego?
You're putting together the words.
You're putting
The letters. Pieces.
You're putting together the pieces. Also, if you've played Legos, how is this? What does this have to do with the experience of playing Lego?
It's like building the object.
It's like searching for the right piece.
Yeah, this is the way you play Legos. You have a pile of Legos and you're searching through to find stuff to make what you envision.
Unless you sort it like.
Unless you sort it. Yeah. Who gets this?
A baby is like.
Oh, that's like a classic like picture.
That's the classic picture of what?
Like the mother reaching for.
Nope, not the mother reaching for the
Is
kid.
that like old paintings?
Oh, yeah, like
the
Jesus.
one person
Not-
and then like the bunch of.
Yeah, not Jesus.
I don't know what it's called, but like
Yeah, like the.
Yes, the Sistine Chapel,
Like a
right?
person is,
Yeah.
like, laying
Who?
saying,
Yes. Who's the person? I'm not going to show it. But who? No.
They're like.
What's it a depiction of?
They're like.
I don't know.
They're wearing like a cloth.
It's God and Adam. Okay. So what's the idea here?
That they're like creating like
You're
God.
creating like God. Okay, right? Is that there's the child and the Lego, right? And it's alluding to that painting where you have God creating Adam. Here you have the child creating his own Lego world. Okay. Now you see what happened here compared to Star Wars. How many of you knew exactly what it was referring to? Not many, right? Or a minority, right? You knew, yeah, right? So this is assuming a certain cultural literacy of art, whereas the last one, the Star Wars one, was assuming a certain cultural literacy of like movies, right? Here's another one.
This was pretty good.
Yeah, this is my least favorite one, but that's personal. Okay.
Really? I was
Yeah.
thinking they're all getting.
What's the message here?
It's kind of the same as the other one where.
Oh, say again.
Kind of like yourself, like you're
Ah.
like defining your future.
I like the way you said that. Is you're building yourself, right? You're exploring things which will ultimately turn into a possible career or identity, and doing that. I think. I mean, one of the reasons I didn't like this one particularly is all the other Lego ads are things that you'll actually see children do with Legos. No kid is going to actually build this with Legos. So this, I think, is much more for the parents. Here's the last one here. It says, "Oh, thank you for this acrobat on a forklift lifting a tray of French fries." Okay. Now, this is very different than all the other Lego creations we've seen, right? How would you describe the difference between this and like
Building parents' imagination.
This is what kids will actually do.
this is what kids will actually do, right? This is like the what's the character in Toy Story 4? The Sporky, the
Sporky
Sporky.
the spoon.
yeah, the
His name was Sporky.
it was Sporky. Okay, right. I'm not imagining that right. Was it Forky? I thought it was Sporky.
Forky.
Forky?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
Forky?
Fork.
Oh, Forky. Okay, yeah, right. So that's the type of thing like this like raw child imagination like thing that they're doing, and that is a much more realistic thing. Obviously, the disadvantage as an ad.
Not as appealing.
Yeah, it's not as you don't look at that and say like, oh, I want to build
But
that,
it's funny.
but it is funny. You got the humor also, right? Yeah.
It wouldn't make me want to buy.
Not necessarily, yeah, me neither. And by the way, this is why this is why Lego makes tons of different kinds of ads, because you see that each of these ads we've seen appeals to different groups and different like people. And so sort of a scattershot approach where they'll find each one will appeal to a certain demographic stronger than others. Yeah. Right, so your assignment is to pick one of these and analyze what makes it effective, or to compare this one with the one we did in class. And everything will be posted on Google Classroom. And remember, use the WhatsApp if you have a question for about the assignment for the entire group. Yeah, I do that also. And if you have a private question, then use email, because I won't respond privately to WhatsApp. Okay. Alrighty, have a good day.
I feel Lego has such like so
I
many.
know.